What is going on, guys? Chip here. Welcome back to the final Swiss round of the Durham League Cup from this past weekend. On the left, we have Chris Watkins returning from the first round on his winning end right here. And on the right, we have Daniel Nelson at 3-2. Unfortunately, Daniel is unable to make top cut at this point. This is the fifth table, table number 5. All the top 4 tables ID'd, so that means if Chris wins this game, 1-4-1-1 player will bubble out of top 8, and if Daniel wins, it'll be a clean cut, and all the people who ID'd will make it into cuts. So we're going to start things off on Christopher's turn. Gonna get that turn 1 Bridget. He's playing that Zoroark Golisopod deck that we saw him play in that first round against Jeremiah. He was able to win that one and just found himself one more loss along the way, and looks like he's gonna go ahead and try to see what he can do to win this game here to get himself into cut. So he is playing, like I said, that Zoroark Golisopod deck, and Daniel is actually playing a Zoroark Lycanroc deck with, as you can see in his active position, a Buzzwole GX, a little bit of an interesting tech. We saw some of the lists back at Memphis Regionals of Zoroark Lycanroc chose to include Buzzwole, and the glare is actually looking kind of bad here. I do apologize for that. I don't remember noticing it being this bad in the other rounds, but hopefully it won't be too big of an issue. Daniel does bench a Zoroark to start things off, and looks like he is just having to go for a Mallow. Definitely not your ideal turn 1 supporter. Mallow is, great later on in the game whenever you can trade into those specific cards that you want to get. Not the card you want to be playing on your first turn, so unfortunately it looks like Daniel's just having kind of like a rough start here. Maybe if he at least has a fighting energy, he can attack, but no, he's just going to have to pass over to Christopher. He is looking like he could be in the driver's seat from this position on. If he somehow was able to pull off a Golisopod plus a Guzma play this turn to knock out Daniel's only Zoroark, that would be an extremely strong play from him. Ultra Ball is a start. Let's see what this goes for. Looks like it's going to be a Mew EX, actually, and he could actually pick off the Buzzwole in the active spot if he finds a Zoroark GX, and this is an extremely aggressive play from Christopher. We're going to see if this pays off for him or not. Putting this Mew EX in play with no Zoroark guaranteed yet. If he finds it off this end, though, it's going to be really good for him. He'll be in a really strong position, I think. And, yeah, really aggressive for sure, and we'll see how this comes out. He did end Daniel. He knew Daniel didn't have a good hand, but he also knew Daniel did play Mallow, so that he was going to be getting some good card. Looks like we just see a Golisopod, not a Zoroark, coming into play, and just going to see a first impression for 120 damage. So I really don't hate that play from Chris, because honestly, he already had the Wimpod with the energy on the bench. It would have just really stunk if he somehow didn't draw any Golisopod or any Zoroark. But we're going to move on over to Daniel's turn. He did just trade away a fighting energy, it looks like. Looks like he's going to find a Lele, and he might be able to get the Bridget now with this. He might want to go for a different supporter, but I think it's fine to go ahead. Yep, Bridget is going to come out, and he's just going to go ahead and try to get his board a little more set up. And we see 2 Zoroarks come down and 1 Rockruff hitting the bench as well. Lycanroc GX's Dangerous Rogue, of course, very threatening at all times. We'll see if Daniel gets his energy attachment this turn as well, and what he can make happen here. And looks like a Floatstone going onto the Buzzwole, a weakness policy actually on to the Rockruff, not a card I was really expecting to see. And maybe we'll just see him, well, he's retreating, it looks like. Going to send up the Zoroark GX, kind of just trying to do a little bit of prize denial here, making sure Lele doesn't go down, or the Buzzwole, excuse me, doesn't go down, and Ride is beating for 120 damage. Actually didn't even notice that double colorless energy in his hand because he had the fighting energy at the front. I thought he was just going to attach to the Rockruff, but this is fine as well. Going to, try to do some damage with this Zoroark. On to Chris's turn. It looks like he does have an Ultra Ball. That must have been his top deck for the turn. Otherwise, I'm sure he would have Ultra Balled for a Zoroark to get the knockout on Buzzwole. And looks like the Zoroark is going to come into play now. Field Blower does get rid of the Floatstone and the weakness policy over on the Rockruff. And he's going to go ahead and play Cynthia and see what he can draw with this. Probably going to be looking for a float stone, some sort of way to move this Golisopod from the active spot. Hitting for 30 with first impression definitely is not what you want to be doing. We see a couple of field blowers, it looks like. Trade is going to come down. He gets another Zoroark GX. He can trade once again. I think he did get a DCE, so he could go for the crossing cut here to try to save this Golisopod to deny those prizes. He could also maybe armor press, but I think he's at the point where the Zoroark will still be able to pick up the knockout. He's going to put the DCE on the active, and I think crossing cut's going to be his best option here, and that is what he is going to go for. Does 150 damage and switches into the Tapu Koko. Now, if Daniel can find a Guzma and a Floatstone, he can knock out this Golisopod. But no, it looks like he's just going to have to in and, kind of try to reset his hand and see what else he can find. If he can find a DCE, he can knock out Tapu Koko. But he definitely wants to try to get some more Zoroark GX in play. He could maybe get, if he found like Floatstone, DCE, and a Lycanroc, he could knock out the Golisopod with the Tapu Lele. That would be really good, since Lycanroc's Bloodthirsty Eyes would bring it to the active spot. But if he just found a DCE, I'm sure he would be content. If he just found a DCE, I'm sure he would be content, taking the knockout on this Tapu Koko, or digging for the Lycanroc Bloodthirsty Eyes knockout on the Golisopod. Looks like he's going to go ahead and get another Zoroark with this Ultra Ball. Enhanced Hammer, he chose to get rid of the energy on the Mew EX, and we're going to see what he's going to go with here. Looks like he's going to trade away a strong energy, really digging for that double colorless, and it doesn't look like it paid off. I do not see it in his hand. Oh, he's going to Ultra Ball here. What's he going to get with this? A Lycanroc. I don't think he has any cards in his hand, actually. I think he just played out his whole hand. And he might be trying to just Lycanroc and stall something for a turn. Yeah, he's going to just bring up a Zoroark GX and pass on to Chris's turn. Now, if Chris can find a Guzma or his Floatstone, he can move this Zoroark. Or even, honestly, just like a double colorless energy. He can just attack and knock out Daniel's active Pokemon. So, yeah, if I was Daniel, I don't know that I would have traded away that strong energy. I think worst case scenario, you want to get the energy attachment on to Lycanroc GX. And, if Chris can just find... Even if Chris finds, like, Acerola here, he can Acerola, pick up the Golisopod that has the energies on it, and he can get that DCE up into his hand so that he can attach it to his active Zoroark and take the KO. And that would also heal off 120 damage from the field, so if he could do that, that would be great, of course. Looks like Guzma is going to be his choice, though. Going to bring up the Lycanroc GX, and I'm sure this is just going to go for an armor press. He can use first impression, but, I'm pretty sure Daniel will be able to knock out the knock out the Golisopod either way. But, going for armor press is definitely always correct when you have the option to. And yeah, Daniel with no cards in his hand, probably going to have to trade away whatever his top deck is. Does trade away the fighting energy. We see an Enhanced Hammer there in his hand, going to get rid of that double colorless on the active. Trading away the Field Blower. There's a DCE. Daniel can take a knockout this turn, so he's got something going. And I can't tell what that other card is in his hand. Maybe another Weakness Policy? Yeah, it actually is another Weakness Policy. And he plays himself down to 0 cards again, but he's going to be taking 2 prizes here. I actually don't think... I guess Christopher must have used First Impression instead of Armor Press there, because if he used Armor Press, that wouldn't have been enough damage for Daniel to take the KO. But yeah, I guess Chris must have announced First Impression as opposed to Armor Press, but it looks like he actually just traded into Double Puzzle of Time. So even though I guess Chris should have used Armor Press last turn, he's still in a totally fine position. He's going to Lele here, grab himself a Guzma, and he's going to be able to chase down either that Zoroark on that or that Buzzwole on the bench. And, Chris already has the damage in play that he needs. He's got the Buzzwole that has damage on it. He's got the Zoroark that has damage on it. So if there's no Acerola or Guzma or anything, Acerola or Max Potion from Daniel, Chris just needs to Guzma a couple times, and he'll be able to clean up this game. Going to go ahead and play Double Puzzle. Getting back Enhanced Hammer, going to get rid of that energy on Zoroark GX, I think. And then maybe I'd like to see just another Guzma come back. I think he's already used a couple. But no, going to get rid of Field Blower. Field Blower gets rid of the weakness policy, valuing getting rid of the weakness policy at this point, and then Ritus Beating will take the knockout. I think there probably was a better card to get back as opposed to Field Blower. Weakness policy is not doing too much on that Buzzwole on the bench, and I know it's hard to see that it's a Buzzwole. Sorry for the glare once again, guys, but it's really not looking good for Daniel here. If he's not able to end Christopher this turn, and yeah, it looks like he's just going to Guzma. And if Chris can find just one more Guzma, he's going to be able to win this game. And yeah, it looks like he just top decked it. Guzma is going to bring up the Buzzwole. Ritus Beating will take the knockout and clean up the win for Chris. And that is going to do it for the final round. Chris did end up making it into the top 8, so we will hopefully see some more from him coming up here soon. Guys, definitely make sure you stick around to watch the top 8. There was a small mistake on my part. I forgot to click the record button for the top 8 match, so there is no top 8 unfortunately recorded for this cup. We will have the top 4 though. I will have that out soon for you guys to watch. The top 8 match was Golisopod Garbodor versus Ho-Oh Kiawe, so the matchup wasn't that good anyway, and Ho-Oh just won pretty quickly, but yeah, guys, definitely make sure you check out the rest of the videos from this cup in the playlist on the screen right now. And that is going to do it for me. Thanks for watching, guys. Until next time, take care.